Welcome to Learning as We Go podcast. This is actually my first ever episode of this podcast, but here we're a safe space for anyone to indulge in, and it's a validating space to make mistakes, try new things, or just exist without judgment. Today's episode is the first episode, so we're learning as we go, hence the title of the podcast. And the quality of this podcast is probably going to get better as time goes on. And the topics I talk about probably will change. I don't think immensely, but it's kind of documenting girlhood. Or even if you don't identify as a girl, you're still welcome here as long as you align with anything that I'm talking about, or just some parts of it. Everybody here is welcome. Today, we are discussing something that I actually had a little bit of trouble with. I've had some challenges with this specifically, particularly in the last year, and I've really reflected on it, and the things I've gone through in the past have obviously not been so great, but I'm glad they happened because I took a lot from it. So as the title probably says, asking for advice without losing yourself in the many opinions of the people that you might inquire with, and the fact that not everyone needs to approve what you do. I am a person that cares incredibly about equity. I care about inclusion. I really, really care about creating a space where everybody I'm around feels heard and safe and validated, and they feel supported. I am always for an inclusive space for everyone. And I always look for that in my friends, in anyone I surround myself with. That's really, really important to me. How much they're dedicated to being informed about what's happening in society. I'm very expressive about how I care about humanitarianism, and I'm very, very aware of who I have around me. And so it's not the fact that the people you might be asking might be bad people. My friends, particularly my closest friends, are the kindest, most thoughtful people I know. They are so empathetic, and one of my friends in particular is so considerate of other people's feelings that sometimes she'll actually get anxiety because she'll feel so bad for even making a very, very light lie. Sometimes that lie would have been just, I can't come because I have an appointment to go to, but it would have really been she was sick and felt bad. She is a wonderful human being, and I only surround myself with the kindest of kind people. And even these people sometimes may have differing opinions on the exact same subject or topic. And when you go to these people for advice, even though they are so kind and all of my friends are such wonderful people, they care so deeply about the people around them, they can have differing opinions. And sometimes for a situation that you might be going through, one person will say, do this, but another person will say, yep, I kind of agree, but I think you should do this instead. And it can kind of make you go in a sort of spiral. It can make you really wonder what the right thing to do is, and especially if you're someone that really cares about the impact you have on other people and the people around you, you really want to do the right thing. You want to do something that is the most kind, or maybe something that makes the most sense. If it's a mental health thing that you've been dealing with for quite some time, you want the outcome that will be the most beneficial to you and maybe other people involved. And sometimes when you're talking to different people, they might give you different opinions, and that's something I personally went through. There was a point in my life where I was really, really, really isolated from people, at that time I was working a job that was remote, and I would be stuck in my room, and it was winter at that time. So even though I had a really large window, I wasn't getting a whole lot of light in the room, and I really don't like artificial light, especially the ones that are kind of like a yellow tone. So it would not be a super great environment for me, or something that didn't really align with who I was or where I feel the most comfortable in. And another thing that really put up a barricade was the fact that even if I did open the window on a really sunny day, like I opened the curtains and I want light to come in, there were a bunch of little other apartments around, and if I had my window open, anybody that was in those other apartments could see into my room completely. This was a huge window, so they could see absolutely everything. So even if I wanted to take a nap, they could look in and see that, and that's not super comforting. So I would usually keep them closed, or even if I did have them open, it would be like 25% of the way. And that's usually not how I thrive. I need a lot of sunlight, I need a lot of sun, and I've recently learned that winter is not really my thing, and we're always learning as we go, hence the title of the podcast. But I just wasn't in a good space. And to add on to this, all of my closest friends also had jobs, and my closest of my close friends, there's 3 people that I'm super, super close to. One of them was in another country, another was across the country, and another had a job that was so demanding from her. They required her to work from 7 a.m. to around 6 p.m. is when she got off, but she was only getting paid around 35 hours a week. And that's a little bit concerning, but that's another topic for another episode. But although I had people that really, really cared about me and really were rooting for me and really wanted the best for me in everything, they were so far away from me at all times. And even talking to people on the phone never seemed enough. I just really wanted to indulge in the presence of the person in person, and I just began to fall into a deeper sense of depression. Now, this next part does talk a little bit more about this mental health part, so if that's a little bit triggering for you, maybe skip this episode and go to a different episode on this podcast, but if you're okay with that, we can dive into it more. But I was diagnosed with depression, and I had to take antidepressants. That's how bad this got. And I was just so sad all the time. And it got to the point where even going to bed felt hard, waking up from bed got hard. I just didn't see the point anymore. And at the same time, I was also training for a marathon. I had a part-time job aside from my full-time job. And I had a falling out with someone I really, really loved romantically. All of this came at the same time. I had a course that I was taking academically at the same time that I was in my room, usually by myself, just really, really lonely. And there's a difference between alone and loneliness. Sometimes people are alone, they're in their room doing their thing by themselves, and they really like that. And that's completely different from feeling lonely. Feeling lonely is feeling like you're isolated, and it almost feels forced. It feels like no matter what, it feels like you have to navigate a lot of your life, maybe just parts, but usually a lot of your life, without the support that you might need to thrive. And different people exist, right? And I'm personally the second category. And that usually is people that are a little bit more extroverted. You can be an introvert that's extroverted. That's me. So my personality type is an INFJ. And that, I don't know too much about the 16 personalities, but I've heard that it is the most extroverted of introverts. So I'm a person that although I do love my own space. I like growth, and I find that when I am by myself, I grow the most, as in where I want to be in my career. I thrive and have a lot of fun when I'm with people. And especially at this point where all of these things were coming at once and so many different things were demanding of my time and energy, but I had no energy to give, I fell into a really horrible state. I fell into a state where I really didn't want to be, and it felt horrible. It felt miserable, and I felt like I couldn't have any support for any of this. And so I had this problem. And I started talking about it. I talked a lot about it to my friends. And this is why I am actually making this podcast, because here's the importance of trusting your own actions. And although you can ask for different people for advice, it's important to come back to yourself, have all this information, and make your own decision on what's best for you. So I have friends that are more introverted, and then I have friends that are more extroverted. My more introverted friends said, girl, you just have to have more fun and accept your own company more. Just be happier with yourself. Just be okay with being alone, which is so valid. And that's what worked for her. But as someone who is a little bit more extroverted, I love myself. I think I am incredibly kind, and I really like my personality, and I really like how I show up in the world and how much I care about people, and I really like that I'm driven and passionate. I really like who I am. And that is great on one side. But also, some human beings also really need human connection to thrive. And that was less of a requirement from my friend that I had asked for advice. She just required a little bit less human connection than I did. I don't require as much, but it means a lot to me. It may mean a lot to her, but she just needs less in smaller quantities and needs some more her time to really rejuvenate. That is one part. Another part of my friends, again, told me, maybe stop dating. Stop going out with men. Stop doing this. Just be present in your own, and you take some time to heal. And that's something we hear a lot. Just take the time to heal. But no one really tells us how. How do you heal? It's easy to say you should just heal. Just be happy in your own company. And it made me feel really, really horrible. It made me feel like, do I hate myself? Do I just not like me? And it made me feel incredibly uncomfortable within my own body. And these people didn't mean that at all. Like, they didn't mean for that impact to be made. They were only ever trying to help. These people that I'm asking are the kindest people I know. And the important thing here is even the kindest, most empathetic, most fun people, the people you value the most in your life, can also be wrong. They can also suggest things that may work for them, but they may not completely work for you. And that's something that needs to be understood. For me, I started to question my self-worth, and I'm someone that's really proud of how proud I am of myself. I'm very happy with how I show up. I'm very happy with my confidence, but hearing that over and over again, you're just not happy in your own company. You're just not happy being alone. Just be happy alone. Hearing that again and again made me feel like, okay, am I just not happy with myself? Do I not like myself? Am I not as confident as I think I am? Am I not as loving of myself as I think I am? Do I not like myself and show up for myself in the way that I think I do? And this is a great time for reflection. But I didn't really see it that way. I just felt insecure. It turned into a little bit of an insecurity for me because I felt like maybe I just don't like myself. And this was a point where it almost added on to the burdens of what I was going through. And that's the last thing that these people wanted from me, but that's what happened. And this is why it's really important to, yes, ask for advice. It's so important to include other people's perspectives and ideas into our own. That's how we grow, that's how we learn, and that's how we expand our view of the world. But at the same time, it's important to not outsource your self-trust. Although there are wonderful people, they have different opinions at times, which is why you need to trust your own decisions. This is why journaling is really important. This is why even talking to yourself in the mirror when you're doing your skincare or makeup or getting ready in the morning, really coming back to yourself and realizing this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm feeling, and this is why therapy can be important. I have worked with over 5 counselors in my life, and they have helped me tremendously in realizing past traumas or past situations that are inducing what I may feel today. And even though that situation may have happened years and years ago, having gone through that then may show up in what I think today and how I act today. Which is why, again, journaling is super important. Understanding why you think the way you do and really who you are. We're learning as we go. We're learning more about ourselves as we go. And having a whole view that may not be complete. We're always growing. We're always becoming more of ourselves as we go. But trusting your own decisions, trusting that you are capable, you are intelligent, and your thoughts and actions can reflect that. Sometimes we think things that are kind of not super who we are. That's also another thing I'd like to point. Not everything you think is who you are. Your thoughts don't always have to reflect who you are. Sometimes we think things like, if I had this baby in my hands, I would just drop it. Like, we think horrible, but we would never do that. We would never do that. But that's a thought that sometimes comes in our head. That is not you. Of course, we have these thoughts sometimes that come in and out. We would never do that. What would it be like if I cut down this huge tree? You would never do that. Maybe you're someone that really admires nature. But that thought of what if sometimes comes in our head, and that just stems from curiosity. It's who we are as humans. But I'd like for you to know that you are capable and intelligent, and you can make decisions. I promise you are capable. You know you best. You know what you may need at some times. You can certainly ask others for what has helped them. But who you ask sometimes matters. So, although you might go and ask someone that's so kind, let's just say that person grew up with 5 brothers, 2 sisters, huge family, and you're from a family of 3. Your mom, your dad, yourself, or however your family might look like. And you're talking to them about family dynamics. You're going to have completely different perspectives on how childhood may be, how much toys to buy for your future kid, how much time to spend with your future kid. Should they have siblings? The goods and not so goods about having more or less children, how grocery looks like. It's gonna be completely different perspectives, even though you might both be such great people who care so deeply about the people around them and are so kind to the people around them. The people around you have different perspectives based on their own experiences in life. So if you're asking someone for advice, on a certain part of your life, make sure that you're asking people who have a aspect of that life that you personally would want or can relate to. I'm not saying don't have friends with people that are different. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is sometimes our perspectives differ, and it's important to not let different perspectives get to us, but rather evaluate these different perspectives, respect them, of course, and think about if they would work for you, because you're both different people and not everything works for everyone. An example of this is when I was younger and I really got into painting, especially with COVID times and the pandemic, and trying to keep myself busy. I really grew fond of painting, and people would say painting is like therapy for me. It's very therapeutic. I can just turn off my mind, which I didn't really understand, because when I was painting, I had a specific goal that I was trying to achieve, and so I would work really hard to get closest to the reference image or closest to the tutorial I was following, and it wasn't very therapeutic for me. I wasn't able to just turn off my mind. And what I've realized is, again, different things work for different people. For that person, painting was therapeutic. For me, it's not very therapeutic. It's more of a task that I have some joy in doing, but it's not completely, I can just shut down and do whatever. I'm very strategic and I use my brain and I'm really trying to get to a certain point. And for me, I found that dancing is very therapeutic. For other people, it's not going to be, because they might be so focused on getting the moves right or trying to be as elegant or graceful or as upbeat, depending on what dance style you're more fond of. For me, dancing is very therapeutic. It's genuinely where I can turn off my mind and just flow with the music and have the music make me feel different things. A specific song, shout out Aurora, is my favorite singer ever, and a song that I really love is The Seed, which emphasizes the importance of recognizing climate change and mitigating the effects of climate change, which we can talk about more in another episode. But that's kind of what works for me. And the only way we can understand what works for us is trying new things. This is where listening to other people comes in. We do our research. We ask what works for other people. We try different things. Some things are going to work for us, and some things are not going to work for us. Some people say knitting, or crocheting, or taking long walks. Taking long walks actually works for most people, but maybe it doesn't work for you. Maybe for you, you like swimming instead, or enjoy a different sort of physical activity, or you like painting, or gardening, or reading books, or learning new courses. It's so different for everybody, and that's the importance of trying new things, learning as much as we can take from the people around us, respecting all the different opinions. That's really important. Respecting what everyone has to say. You don't have to gather up. You don't have to like everything everyone's saying, but it's really important to respect different perspectives. It's really important to take the time to listen and respect it, but that doesn't mean you have to always follow it. Just follow what works for you. And going back to the healing part, that could be another episode for another day, but I will touch a little bit on what worked for me. And again, this might not work for everybody. And if you are going through something, I really do recommend, you've probably heard it before, but therapy. This is because sometimes you can talk to friends, but as I mentioned, sometimes sometimes people just don't know what to say, or they just have a different way of going through things. But when you're talking to a therapist, they're actually licensed and they're trained in this, and they're trained to help different types of people, which is why therapy is so important, and I really recommend that to people. But for me personally, healing happens when I'm not in the space that hurt me. That's something that really stuck. I heard it a while ago, and I never truly actually implemented it until I moved from my school. I was actually living near my school, and then I moved back home, and then I started to feel a little bit better day by day. And you can't heal. You aren't going to feel better in the same space that hurt you, and trying to distance yourself from whatever is causing you immense amount of pain, either emotionally or physically, is what's best. But we are, again, learning as we go. And what I'd like to suggest for people are just some prompts, some journaling prompts to get to know you a little bit better. Get to know yourself a little bit more. And there's 3 main ones, so you can either pause this or write them down. But the 3 are, what would I do right now if I fully trusted myself? This could be goals, different aspects of your life, but what would you do right now if you fully trusted yourself? Second one, what would I do differently in the way I show up for myself? And third, what would I do differently in the way I treat the people around me if I fully trusted myself? What would I do in my daily life? And just keep on adding on to the various aspects of life. What would you do in your daily life? Where would you go? What would you do to achieve your goals if you fully trusted in your ability and knew that you are competent and you are intelligent and you are capable of doing hard things? You are capable of doing challenging things as long as you're willing to learn about it, research about it, and implement it. But you can really achieve anything. Whatever drives you, whatever draws you. What would you do if you fully trusted in your ability to do the things that you want to accomplish? That's it for today's episode. I really, really hope you enjoyed. This is my first episode, so I guess let me know how you liked it. And I will see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye, lovers!